So over the past few weeks, I've been discussing how we're seeing shortages. And I've been telling you guys that you need to start to prepare, because if you are not preparing now, then it could potentially be too late. Well, things are already starting to happen. There's a real food shortage. This is not just a drill. This isn't me trying to, spark fear into your lives. This is actually happening. We have been seeing a food shortage increase over the past couple of years. And it started out due to COVID, then it was worker shortages. Now it has to do with diesel shortages, worker shortages, COVID issues, right? Businesses are closing down, prices are increasing, and it's actually turning into a major problem. But here's what we know. Just recently, we started to get more diesel shortages. Many gas stations cannot even get enough diesel to just fill up their tanks. It's an issue. Now, diesel shortages not only hurt truckers, but it also hurts farmers. Okay, let's talk about farmers for a second. If farmers cannot get the diesel that they need to run their tractors and their other equipment, well, their crops are not going to get to the store. And then you factor in, well, how do you get those crops to the store? Most likely it's a diesel truck. And if a diesel truck cannot deliver food, then guess what happens? No food gets to the store. And when truckers can't deliver food, they can't deliver fuel, which means your car could be sitting in your driveway for the foreseeable future due to a lack of fuel. And so many people don't realize this. This is not something that is just now happening. It's been slowly getting bigger and bigger. Now we're starting to see it. Now mainstream media is starting to talk about it. Now I addressed the diesel shortage was earlier this week, and I mentioned how many mainstream media sites, mainstream media outlets aren't even discussing it. Well, guess what? It was just the next day, I believe, or 2 days later, that people started discussing it, that this was a huge issue. It is a huge issue, and it has been a huge issue. Now, one thing that I can tell you is when I get my, from my sources, usually the news that I'm providing you is almost too early. You're not going to see it online. You're not going to see it in the mainstream media because they haven't put the things together. They haven't put the sources together to actually figure out what's going on. That's one of the things that I do. I spend hours and hours of my time doing that exact thing. But here's where things are getting even more dire. Costco's around the country are putting limits on their supply. And in some cases, they are having empty shelves. Again, this isn't something new. We saw this during the height of the pandemic. But we've also slowly seen this in certain stores around the country. I see this all the time where I live, and you may see it as well. We also know Kroger is having a hard time staying stocked up for multiple reasons. Number one, Kroger is having a difficult time because they're not getting enough inventory in. Items are simply sitting in shipping containers, not moving, because there's not a trucker to move it. Because truckers are quitting. They're simply quitting, walking away because of the rising diesel price. They're just walking away. They can make more money doing something else than staying on the road for weeks at a time away from their family, making the bare minimum. So truckers are leaving the field. But workers inside these Kroger stores, they're not coming in. Why? Well, they're overworked and underpaid. Nobody wants that. And Kroger isn't the only store. Walmart's another big one that has been closing down. Certain stores are closing down because they're not getting enough inventory in for their customers, and their customers just decide to stop coming in. Well, that hurts. When your Costco, your Kroger, or your Walmart in your local area doesn't have what you need, that doesn't make you feel good. So here's what I can tell you. What we know is that having grocery products is essential to living. You need grocery products. You have to be able to eat. But what happens if you can't get your hands on these products? You can't get your hands on, some bread or milk or meat or, vegetables or fruit, what happens then? Well, you're probably screwed. But this is why I've been telling you guys that you need to learn how to either grow your own food, you need to create your own stockpile, okay? And then the third thing you need to do, and in my opinion is one of the biggest things, is reach out to other friends and family members that are in the same situation you are, that are starting to grow their own food, or they're starting to create their own stockpile, and figure out, okay, they have a bunch of this item. Well, if they have a bunch of this item, and maybe they don't need all of it, and you got a bunch of, beans or whatever, and they need that, maybe you can make a trade. That's a great way to actually live, is to trade. That's what we used to do. It wasn't all paying with money. You slide in your card using Bitcoin. That wasn't what we did. Okay, years ago, what we did was we traded. And that's still something that you can do to this day. Now, here's what I recommend. And this isn't just coming from me. This is coming from many experts as well. What they're saying is you need to stock up on canned goods, on rice, beans, and items that can be held for multiple years. Now, what financial experts are telling us is we may see inflation for quite some time. And if we continue to see inflation run hot for multiple months or even many years, what's going to happen is people are going to be hurt. Businesses are going to close down. Stores are going to stop selling some of the products that they normally sold because they can't get them. As manufacturing plants shut down, as truckers leave the industry, what's going to happen is all these smaller cities, these little towns, are going to be impacted first. Because guess where all the products are going to go? To the big cities. So guess what? If you want to get your hands on, a special, loaf of bread, you want to get your hands on, a new rice or whatever it may be, you might have to drive from your small town into the big city. Because guess what used to happen? Many years ago, what would happen is a lot of these products would go to the big city, to the big store. And all the other stores, all the other little towns would have to come to that city, buy products, and take it back. Guess what? If we're having a diesel shortage, we could go back to that. We honestly could go back to that. Now, I don't think it's going to get that bad, but I'm not going to take any chances. I'm not going to wait. And I'm telling you this because honestly, I don't want you taking a chance on this as well. It's happening. We are seeing this happen. And again, I want you to prepare. I want you to prep now before it's too late. Because, if things get worse, if Russia doesn't pull out of Ukraine, if gas prices continue to soar, if Congress can't agree on passing bills for the American people, things could go horribly wrong. All right? So, just want to warn you that yes, this is happening. Food shortages are, these are starting to ramp up. Stores are seeing more shortages. And that means the American people have less to pick from. So, just wanted to fill you in on that little warning for this Sunday morning. But again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.